Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And today we are going colonial yet again because colonialism is a recurring theme throughout this world. This time we are looking at one of the first European colonies in the tropics. And if that isn't enticing enough, let's just dive right into it.
Yeah. Yeah. The opening picture is literally a wall with cannons. So, you know this is a fun one.
I love a good cannon.
Makes me think of the game Tropico.
Yeah. So what
Unprecedented.
we're looking at is the historic center of Riviera Grande, uh, specifically uh, Cidade Velha, which is a late 18th century European colony located on the islands off the coast of Western Africa. Um, the remains that are part of the historical site include two churches, the Royal Fortress and the Pillory Square, uh, which has an imported marble pillar that was carved in the 16th century.
Sheesh. And why is every colonial site tied with having religion? Why is that such a central part of it?
I don't know. Why don't you ask the Spanish?
Because you need to replace the cultural context of the people you're conquering with your own, and the best way to do that is to use God.
My God is the real God. Your God is wrong.
Yeah,
Prepare to die.
yeah.
But
So
my
this
God is your God. Well, you're doing that wrong.
Yeah, you're doing it in the wrong way. I think we just boiled down every holy war into about 15 seconds.
Not really. You'd be surprised at how political it actually really was. Do you really think the Pope gave a shit about the Byzantines?
Yes, actually, he did. We talked about this in the episode. He saw it as a major way to make them answer to him politically.
That's the only reason he cared. He didn't care if they all got slaughtered.
Now, why would Portugal
But
care about this specific outpost? What value does a colonial outpost off the coast of West Africa have?
I
yeah,
hope. I think it has
uh,
something to do with the age of quote unquote discovery.
yeah.
Brr, brr,
So the
brr.
so the Portuguese liked this outpost, and they in fact began to inhabit the islands here in the at the end of the 15th century. Uh, the reason for this is because the Portuguese were exploring options for Atlantic trade, namely means of getting around the Ottoman Empire into India and China for luxury goods. These islands, which are located off the coast of West Africa, are ideally situated as a sort of refueling station for Portuguese vessels heading south from the Iberian Peninsula. Uh, Additionally, later on, it becomes a very good place if you want to buy people.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Yeah, the Portuguese did a lot of that.
Yeah, they're
They
the
dealt
pioneers of the whole damn thing.
with the trade and the enslavement of large
Yep.
swaths of populations, and this was their outpost that they would congregate. And this was a major location on the Columbian Exchange because they would go from West Africa just across the ocean to Brazil, where Brazil was one of the largest and most densely populated colonies with enslaved peoples.
Yeah, yeah. We talk a little bit about Brazil in one of our podcast episodes focused on them, and oh boy, does this issue come up a lot.
They are
It
one
is.
of the last nations in the world to formally outlaw it. A bunch of American Confederates after the war literally moved to Brazil because they preserved the
Yeah,
tradition, quote unquote.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, I guess that.
on the I guess bright side in this is the series of firsts associated with this specific colony. Namely, in addition to being the first European colony in the tropics, it is also home to the first Creole society, which is where African and European cultures begin to blend together to form something unique and different. And this being the first colony out here, it's also the first place where Creole culture begins to form.
Oh,
That's really
interesting.
interesting.
That is that's nice. And that's that sort of lends value to preserving this particular fortress as a historical site.
I mean, even with the dark history, it is something that should be preserved because it can be an educational point. I think there's a lot of, um, and apologies, this is getting somewhat political, but not in a bad way, I don't think. But there's a certain value in preserving these sites and these histories to help educate for future generations.
It is help. It does have value as long as there is a very particular narrative that doesn't glorify the slavery and exploitation
And with
part.
colonialism specifically, a lot of times the former colonial nations refuse to admit any sort of wrongdoing or any sort of fault in their previous endeavors. And a lot of times that age of exploration, as you quote unquote put it, glorifies it. It
Yeah.
glorifies this age of discovery, this age of exploring already inhabited locations as if they're brand new because it's the first time we realized it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just because remember, kids, just because the Europeans finally found it doesn't mean other people didn't already find it.
Yeah.
Because people could have already been living there, and
Yeah.
most of the time they were.
And
Yeah.
this was just a location for the Portuguese to get trade goods.
Yeah. And
Which is
one
all
of the
they really cared
interesting
about.
one of the interesting things about those trade goods with the Portuguese is it wasn't just they weren't just dealing in human lives. Um, this colony in particular was used as an acclimatization zone for African and American plants, so that they could then be shipped off to Europe to be grown there. Effectively, ever wonder how the potato got to Ireland?
Oh no.
Yeah, most of those plants pass through this port as a means of seeing what needed to be done to take them from one hemisphere or one biome to another.
That's interesting.
That does highlight a very interesting point and something that we don't think about that frequently. I know there's the whole running joke about how tomatoes were seen as poisonous
Oh, they
and
are.
seldomly eaten, but then like you have to realize for the Europeans there was a lot of trial and error when it came to goods that they discovered in America where it's like, okay, how do we transport this? What is the most viable option? And then once they arrived back home, what's the most viable environment for us to grow them in? Someone along the line saw Ireland and went, just throw the feckin' potatoes there. They'll
Yeah,
grow.
To be
yeah,
fair, potatoes are part of the nightshade family, so
mhm.
some of them could actually have been really toxic.
Yeah.
And also, it
Especially,
wasn't just Ireland. Prussia also very much took to the potato.
yeah, pressure took to the potato. What was it? The Netherlands loved carrots.
Also, because potatoes come from like the Andes, there's a reason why potatoes will just grow anywhere.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
potatoes are the crop that go, where's the fucking soil?
yeah. And the fun fact, Europeans didn't know that, so they experimented here to say, how do we take a mountain crop and grow it in somewhere like Ireland, where it is cold and damp?
Fun fact.
Oh, you
The
don't
Andes
have to
can
do
get cold.
anything; just throw it in there.
Potato like it's interesting because my dad like as a hobby would sometimes garden, and one thing he would always plant wherever he moved were potatoes, and they always just thrived like no matter where like he was moving, and he kind of like stayed in the same area, but we had at least like he planted about maybe like two, 3 rows of potatoes about 10 by 8 tilled land, like a little small tilled garden, and we got about 2, 3, 5 gallon buckets full of potatoes.
Jeez.
And these weren't like small potatoes, these were about decent sized potatoes.
Well, and the thing I love about it is you start with one seed potato and you get many potato.
Like, we could have been living off potato. There's a reason why Ireland has so many different like recipes with potatoes, because you could just grow them like crazy and you could make them into
The
anything.
best one's
Yeah.
a shepherd's pie. There's no
Yeah.
I've
changing my
had
mind.
shepherd. I did have shepherd's pie for the first time when I was in the UK.
But that's a far cry. This location was a
It's
point where they would basically
yeah,
take the goods.
where they would acclimatize plants when they were moving them from other continents to Europe. It's a jumping off point for the triangle trade in the transatlantic. It is the first colony down in this region. It is the first Creole culture to come into existence. It's a lot of firsts and a lot of big things for how people and agriculture have ended up where they have in the 21st century. Is what this place really represents. All the good and extremely bad that comes with that. Um, uh, what's one of the things that's particularly interesting in terms of protections for this site is that alongside its integrity and authenticity, a lot of its managements are, well, they are considered satisfactory by the United Nations. The UN is pushing for reforms and additional protections, as there doesn't appear to be anything put in place for if something does go wrong. Whose responsibility is it to take care of what, and more of just laws regarding, hey, don't do this. If someone does knock down the wall, whose job is it to fix it? It's like we don't really have that, but we do have a law saying it's illegal to knock down that wall. Is kind of where the protection is at.
Well, geez, not the best protection, but at least there's something.
There's something there, which is honestly what you asked for. You always ask for that, right? What is there to really?
But I think that's actually a great point for us to wrap up here. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed watching, please leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought. If there's a topic you'd like to see us cover, again, let us know. And we'll see you in the next video. Peace.